Halloween. A group of friends decide to attend a legendary Halloween party just outside of town. They say their goodbyes and head out for some fun. But anything can happen at a party. Plenty of witnesses can be the key to solving what really happened. But too many witnesses can alter the narrative.
Everyone at a Halloween party is dressed as a monster or demon, and as a police officer, you're looking for a real monster and demon.
For Chelsea Bruck, this will be the last Halloween party she ever attends, leading detectives to uncover a monster hidden by a field of costumes.
One Supervisor Roberts, what's the address of your emergency?
I'll give you directions. I found a dead body on my property.
Frenchtown, Michigan, with a population of 20,000 residents. It's a place recognized for its role in the War of 1812. The original battlefield is designated as a historic park, seeing tourists from across the nation come to commemorate and mourn where America had its highest casualties in the conflict with the British Empire.
People like living in Frenchtown. It has a beautiful lake, a historic park, and that community spirit that's just like one of those small towns Norman Rockwell would have painted.
This particular area, kind of in the Jefferson district, everyone kind of knows each other, fairly safe. We don't have a lot going on as far as crime or anything.
It's here in Frenchtown Charter that 22-year-old Chelsea Bruck is raised.
Chelsea is the youngest of 5 children. She has a strong passion for baking, which she hopes will lead to a career in the culinary arts.
On the night of October 25th, 2014, Chelsea and her friends attend a Halloween party. Chelsea's handmade comic book villain costume has come together after she finds the perfect red wig to complete her outfit.
Chelsea is with her friend Laura. They leave at approximately 10:30 p.m. to go have an enjoyable evening at an annual Halloween party in the local area. She phones her mother, tells her she's going to the party, and they depart.
Arriving at the party, Chelsea realizes a key flaw in her costume. Her attire doesn't have pockets, forcing her to leave her cell phone in the vehicle for the evening.
In this day and age, the cell phone is one of the most safety-driven devices you can have. It has a tracking ability. There's technology that you can access through the cell phone company to find the phone, things like Google Maps and all sorts of information that you may not be aware is in your phone, but the police or other agencies can utilize it. So to have your phone with you is a safety device in more ways than one.
It was kind of a big to-do. A lot of people in the area came out, all kinds of ages, all kinds of people. So we went to the party. I seen Becky there, and Chelsea was hanging out with her. So that's kind of how we met up at the party.
Laura and Chelsea meet up with friends Rebecca and Penny.
By the time the girls arrive, the party is in full swing. People are drinking, loud music is playing, and everyone seems to be having a good time. Penny pulls Chelsea over for a group photo with her sister and her boyfriend.
We took a picture with me, her, and my sister, and then him and his two buddies. And it was just a quick picture, and you know, we had flirted with them maybe 5-10 minutes and moved on. It wasn't like we were hanging out with them the whole night or anything like that. We were drinking quite a bit. We were acting like schoolgirls, walking around, flirting with guys, talking, mingling, having fun. We had a lot of fun that night.
A large bonfire is also a big part of the tradition. Held in the middle of a field on Mike's property. The Halloween Bash is one of 2 parties held every year by the lead band member at his place. Just before midnight, Chelsea suffers an unexpected injury.
We were walking towards the bonfire, and it was pitch black because the bands had quit playing. And she had ran into this post that was kind of sticking out funny and hit like the bridge of her nose. I kind of mommed her a little bit, like, oh, you know, you're gonna be fine, you know, have a drink, and, you know, it's gonna be okay.
Chelsea cleans up her face and doesn't let it ruin her mood. She laughs it off, carries on, and continues to enjoy the party, even bringing it up later in the night. After the band finishes their last set, the large bonfire is lit. The party really takes off as the crowds arrive, becoming loud and wild. Party host Mike Williams recognizes that his event has been growing year after year. But this time, the gathering is so large, it's quickly getting out of control.
I think there was at least 3 bands, maybe 5 bands playing that night. There's cornfields. He even hired some security and some parking people to show people where to park.
Word of mouth today travels on the internet, cell phones. It gets out, and suddenly there are more people than he's accustomed to having. Tow trucks start to arrive, and he just basically throws his hands up in the air and says, do whatever you want. Tow whoever you want. I gotta stop this from growing.
After turning away yet another car, a tow truck driver exits his vehicle and approaches Mike. He's reportedly been in the area for another call and asks Mike if he would like any cars towed. Frustrated, Mike tells the driver to do whatever he wants and walks away. Back at the bonfire, Chelsea and Laura have become separated. Chelsea finds Rebecca and asks to use her cell phone to text Laura. Having been separated, Laura returns to her vehicle. She sees Chelsea's text and tells her that she plans to leave soon. But Chelsea is still enjoying herself and wants to stay. She'll have to come and get her phone as soon as possible if she wants it.
Strangely, Rebecca is the one that comes to gather Chelsea's belongings and her phone, not Chelsea. Rebecca reaches into Laura's car and grabs Chelsea's phone. She then returns to the party with the idea of returning all of Chelsea's belongings to her. When Chelsea is left at the party, things begin to get a bit hazy. With so many people there, it's impossible to track the comings and goings and know what everyone was doing.
But when Rebecca returns to the bonfire, Chelsea is nowhere to be found.
So when you go to a scene like this, there is solo cups, broken bottles, glass, beer cans, cigarette butts. It is a bloody mess.
In an ocean of costumes, Chelsea disappears. Halloween, a holiday for the ghouls and ghosts. A group of friends decide to attend a rural Halloween party. Chelsea leaves her belongings in her friend Laura's car so as not to lose them at the party. When Laura wants to leave, Rebecca collects her things from Laura. And when she returns to the bonfire, Chelsea is nowhere to be seen in this ocean of costumes. Rebecca eventually leaves herself, confident that Chelsea can make her way home.
The morning after the party, Chelsea still hasn't returned home and no one's heard from her. Chelsea's parents report her missing.
A search party is put together immediately to survey the area surrounding the party. Detectives interview the host of the party, Mike Williams. He tells officers that he estimates about 600 people attended the party and that it didn't end until 7 a.m.
Now, from a police perspective, you're going to be looking for evidence when there's a crime reported. So when you go to a scene like this, there is solo cups, broken bottles, glass, beer cans, cigarette butts. It is a bloody mess, to say the least. And to try to peel away the layers to come up with what is at this scene that you could use is extremely difficult. With 600,000 people in the United States reported missing annually, 90% of those are either found or recovered within the first 48 hours, usually. The reason being 48 hours is that is the time when someone may go visit someone, they may become intoxicated, sleep overnight, and spend the weekend. There's all sorts of reasons, but within 48 hours is the time frame when you have a chance to A, discover if the person is really missing or deceased. After 48 hours, the percentage of solving that case drops off drastically day by day.
You know, it's Monroe, and I'm still not thinking anything could be wrong. She was at a friend's house and hasn't called yet, or I don't know.
Chelsea has been missing for about 36 hours, meaning detectives on the case are faced with a lot of pressure to find a clue as to where she may have gone.
In my experience, when there's a large number of people, and I consider large anything over 25, to go above that enhances the problem immensely. You get different stories. People see things differently, especially under the influence of a substance, in the dark, having a good time. One person may see black, one person may see him white. So you have to now interview to try to get to the facts and separate what is truth and fiction. It is the most tedious task you can imagine when people are now in costume, making it 100 times more difficult.
With more than 600 people attending the party, police quickly realize they have a lot of work ahead. Over the next few days, police undertake the task of interviewing hundreds of partygoers, trying to get to the truth of what happened that night.
Some report seeing Chelsea talking to a guy they didn't recognize, and she seemed to be having a good time. But other reports suggest that Chelsea's night took a dark and drastic turn.
The band's merch vendor provides some vital information. Around 3 a.m., the vendor spots Chelsea walking to the parking lot with an unknown male.
When they start interviewing people when Chelsea's reported missing, there's a vendor there selling paraphernalia who sees her. And obviously the vendor's sober and has a good recall. And this person wasn't in costume. So it's the first break, so to speak, in the case where he sees this person, glasses, long hair, walking away with Chelsea into the dark.
From this witness statement, police are able to obtain a composite sketch of the last person to be seen with Chelsea alive. When investigators come up empty-handed at the crime scene, the case grows cold, along with the seasons. All Chelsea's family can do now is wait and hope for the best. But lies can skew an investigation.
A 29-year-old Ohio woman is charged with lying to a police officer. She reportedly claimed that her boyfriend killed Chelsea and dumped her body in the cemetery.
An accusation that proves to be far from the truth. Along with these false accusations, Chelsea's red wig and part of her top are found in some abandoned structure not far from where the party took place.
Yeah, the first thing they found was her leotard. It's at this abandoned building, and it's about 15, 20 minutes away from where the party was. Kind of the cement structure to a building. It doesn't have a roof.
But despite being protected from the outside elements, Chelsea's belongings fail to provide any clues as to how they got there. Of course, this is the kind of news that parents don't want to hear, regardless of whether it's true or not.
Through the course of the investigation, they find part of what she had been wearing as a costume on the side of a road, and then they find a shoe. You automatically assume something bad could have happened to her because usually people don't discard wigs, personal items, out the window of a vehicle after a party. They would keep them and use them again or take them home. So you have to go to the family and give them some bad news that you found some articles, but you didn't find her. You don't say that something horrible has happened, but the thought process starts to kick in that this did not go right.
But it doesn't stop Chelsea's family from doing everything they can to find their daughter. Chelsea's family issue more than 1.25 million flyers in search of their daughter. The flyers are sent to nearly every state, taped on every telephone pole, window, front desk, and bulletin boards they can find. The flyers even arrive with pizza deliveries and flower arrangements. The community wears their purple ribbons daily for over 5 months. But as time goes on, the hope the community has begins to fade away. But despite those closest to Chelsea desperately hoping for a positive outcome, everyone's worst fears are confirmed with a gruesome daytime discovery that proves more haunting than Halloween night.
One Supervisor Roberts, what's the address of your emergency?
I'm on my property on Briar Hill. I'm going to give you directions. I found a dead body on my property.
Chelsea Bruck disappears from a Halloween party she attends with friends in October of 2014. Despite countless witness reports and interviews conducted by police, all in search of the missing woman, piecing together what really happened that night proves to be challenging, until a parent's worst nightmare becomes reality.
One Supervisor Roberts, what's the address of your emergency?
I'm on my property on Briar Hill. I'm going to give you directions. I found a dead body on my property.
In late April 2015, 6 months after Chelsea's disappearance, construction workers come across naked human remains while clearing an area in the woods, about 10 miles from where the Halloween party took place.
When you have civilians or construction workers or people find a crime scene and they start disturbing it, on top of that, if you have weather, elements, rain, wind, all impacting that crime scene, you now have to take steps backwards to eliminate those who have been there, try to figure out what the weather did. It adds a layer of difficulty that is extremely hard to deal with. When you discover a body, there's time frames involved. Rigor mortis, you know, is within so many hours. Decomposition starts depending on the weather, the heat, whether there's water involved, and then the bodies bloat, they take on different looks.
Detectives take note that not only is the body partially covered in leaves and twigs, but a large log has been placed over the body in an effort to conceal it. However, this isn't the only thing they find. Not far from the remains, blonde hair, a shirt, and leggings are found among the dirt. When the DNA results come in, detectives have confirmation the remains are Chelsea Bruck, and the family is notified. Chelsea's parents are asked to identify the leggings and if they know whether Chelsea has ever been to the construction site.
Chelsea's remains were found after being exposed to the elements for 6 months. The medical examiner concludes that Chelsea suffered an extremely violent attack. There are injuries to her face and neck, and bodily fluids are found on her leggings.
But Chelsea's DNA is one of 2 samples found on her leggings. Luckily for detectives, just a year passes before the second sample of DNA is later found to match another case.
In July of 2016, Daniel Clay is arrested for another crime. Through the laws in the United States of America, DNA can be taken from a suspect in those particular circumstances. Through the combined DNA index system, they are able to match up DNA that was found at the scene on the deceased.
When the lab results are added to the system, it comes back as a positive match for the DNA left on Chelsea Bruck's leggings. Detectives arrive at Clay's last known address, Frenchtown Villa, his girlfriend's mobile park home. Officers are posted at the front and rear door to the house. The first officer knocks on the front door, but the home appears quiet. The officer notices the blinds in the window briefly move. Someone is peeking out. Clay busts out the door and makes a break for it, but is quickly apprehended by the remaining officer who was waiting for him. Finally, detectives not only have a suspect in custody for the disappearance of Chelsea Bruck, but a solid lead in finding out what really happened on Halloween night.
Want some water or something? You good? You fine? Give me a second, I'll be with you. Actually, I'm gonna go ask about your phone right now. All right, thank you. Okay? Give me a second.
During his interview, detectives read Clay his rights.
You have the right to remain silent, you understand? Yes? Mm-hmm. Okay. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Do you understand? Yeah. You have the right to talk to a lawyer and have him present with you while you are being questioned. Do you understand? Yeah. Okay. You can decide at any time to exercise these rights and not answer any questions or make any statements. You understand? Yeah. Okay. If you understand, I need you to sign here.
But surprisingly, Clay waives his right to a lawyer, claiming that he has nothing to hide about the Halloween party that took place 2 years ago.
So, what time did you go to the party?
About 8, 9. I was out of there about 10, 11.
Okay, so you went there at 8 or 9?
Yeah.
It was still daylight.
It was getting dark, because it's October, you know.
8 or 9, okay.
Pretty sure.
And I understand that you're not going to remember everything, because it's been a long time.
I'd say I probably showed up right as it got dark again. Probably only like 2 hours that I was there, because I started drinking and then...
Do you remember who the band was playing?
I know it's my
Were
experience.
the bands playing?
They were ending as I was getting there.
Clay suggests that he left the party around 10 p.m., about an hour before Chelsea and Laura arrived at 11 p.m.
I wandered around like by that spot. I didn't know a lot of people.
So, I mean, you talked to a couple people, but, you know, did you ever see her?
Not that
Poison
I know
ivy?
of. Like, not that I know
I mean,
of.
she probably would have stood out if you saw her. So you
that's-
never met her there?
Never met her at the party, never seen her at work.
Not at Olga's?
I did go into Olga's a few times to see Jessica, but I don't remember seeing her there either, you know.
Okay.
I mean, if she's not super hot or something like that, I don't pay attention. I'm shallow a little bit, I won't lie.
I understand, no, it's fine. So while you're at the party, you don't ever remember seeing her, never talked to her, never did anything?
No.
Nothing at all.
I left there and went home.
Hold on. When did you leave?
Probably about an hour and a half, 2 hours after I got there.
So that's
when I got there, it was right when it was getting dark. And
so 8 or 9?
Yeah.
Detectives inquire if Clay has ever seen the construction site where the body was found.
Telling me part of the truth.
I'm telling you the whole truth. No.
Right.
I mean,
But
I was hiding the sex part earlier. I won't lie.
I think you and her had sex out on Briar Hill.
No, we did not.
All right.
I would have found
something
a place.
happened. Something happened.
If I was gonna have sex with her somewhere, anywhere, I'd have gone right near there. I would have gone way out to Briar Hill Road.
Yeah, but Daniel, it's not out of the ordinary for you to drive out there because that's where you live.
Yeah, but I wouldn't.
All right.
There's no spots with houses all along that road and shit. You know, I'd have done it somewhere out by where she was
That's a nice,
at.
quiet place to tuck away at the railroad tracks.
No.
Yeah, it
Wait,
is.
what railroad tracks are you talking about?
Briar
The ones
Hill.
on the dirt road, right there by the.
Yes.
They run across. There's 2 fields right there.
Across, there's woods.
Are you talking about what road are you talking about? I'm talking about the road that's on Telegraph. Is that where she was found?
Clay acknowledges that he knows and understands where it is, but that he hasn't been there either. Detectives know they need a DNA sample if they hope to link Clay to the evidence found at the construction site.
We've asked everybody, okay? Everybody.
Okay.
If they would be willing to consent to a DNA buccal swab.
Yeah.
And
They actually just did one for me like a month and a half ago. So mine, when they arrested me for the book bag because it was a felony, they did me one.
Okay.
So they.
Well, I mean, I don't know where that went.
Okay.
This is specifically for this case.
Yeah, bring it up.
All right. So I'll ask him to go and get the, or he has it
right here.
So,
Like I said, I don't mind helping whatever way I can.
Fortunately, he agrees. When the officer enters, Clay is asked once again if he thinks his DNA would be on or anywhere near the body of Chelsea Bruck. Clay remains adamant that he had nothing to do with Chelsea's murder.
Like I said, we're asking everybody for this, just comparing any possible evidence we have that was maybe on her body, costume, wig, any evidence we have. So there's no reason you don't think that any DNA would be on anything like that?
Nope.
DNA evidence is some of the strongest evidence that we have today. Even on clothing, it can last for years, even decades, before it finally degrades to the point where it can't be used.
But when the DNA results come back, detectives find that the DNA swab provided by Daniel Clay and evidence gathered on Chelsea Bruck's leggings are a match.
I have information that you had contact.
Like
Okay.
at that party or something?
Yes.
Like, I might have seen her. I don't remember.
But when I say, remember I clarified, you might have seen her.
Yeah, I said I might have seen her.
When I say contact, I mean physical contact.
Oh, no.
Okay. What if I told you that your DNA was on her?
I don't know how my DNA got on her.
Okay.
Like, no way, no nothing, no how.
After a bit more explanation and discussion on the process of DNA testing, Daniel Clay finally acknowledges there is a possibility the DNA on the leggings is in fact his.
Well, you said it.
Yeah, I'm saying it could be. I remember having sex with her, but she wasn't blonde. She had dark hair.
But she was wearing a wig.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Clay admits that he had a sexual encounter with a female at the party in the back seat of his car.
All right, you're telling me there's a possibility. You had sex with a girl in the back seat of that car?
Yeah.
It was back seat, right?
Yeah.
Did you guys, how did you have sex? You said you didn't get off by oral, so
we just got in the car, you know.
Was it missionary? You get between her legs?
She was sitting on my lap.
Did you eat her out? No, I don't know. I don't know
I just remember like having sex because I know I had sex there and I had sex before I went there. But the sex before I went there, I'm pretty sure it was Erica, which is my ex.
Okay.
But when someone walks by and knocks on the window, she gets spooked and quickly leaves. He never bumps into her for the rest of the night. Seeing as the girl had red hair, Clay doesn't feel the interaction is relevant. Detectives inform him that Chelsea is indeed blonde and was wearing a red wig as part of her costume.
I don't remember no leaves. Like I remember seeing this thing.
But you were intoxicated, right?
Yeah, but I just even remember if the girl has got leaves on her. You know,
I don't know. I mean, I don't know because like, I've never had sex with someone that has leaves on them.
I've never had sex with someone.
You know what I'm saying?
To my knowledge, I've had sex like a lot.
But, you know, the thing.
Sex, but
I think the thing is, Daniel. All right, is you're telling me there's a possibility.
He finally understands the gravity of the situation. However, he's still adamant that he had nothing to do with the circumstance.
Fairly certain it wasn't her. And when I left alone. I didn't take her with me or nothing.
If Daniel Clay is telling the truth, that means Chelsea's killer is still on the loose. But police don't buy his story and continue pressing him for more details. What happened to Chelsea at the party that night? And who is responsible for her murder? Lead suspect Daniel Clay says he attended the Halloween party in 2014 alone. Around midnight, the party is growing out of hand. Clay claims he never ran into Chelsea at the party. In fact, he left before she even arrived.
And when I left alone. I didn't take her with me or nothing.
But if that's true, then what happened to and who is responsible for her death?
I could tell you right now, hypothetically, I could tell you that we had sex and she did get hurt and I left her out there. I'm still going to jail for the rest of my life.
But you're not that murderer. No, you're
I'm
not.
Still going to jail for the rest
Absolutely.
of my life. I didn't do
Look
that.
at me, Daniel. Look at me. Look at me.
No.
Look at me.
There you go. I didn't do anything.
You had no intent.
I had sex with the
Daniel.
girl. I was wasted.
You had no intent to hurt her. All right? It takes intent to go the rest of your life.
Daniel Clay begins to sweat. He changes his story and admits that not only did he run into Chelsea, but that a sexual interaction occurred in the back seat of his car. Detectives start to see a crack in Clay's composure and question him further.
Is it possible for me to get a cigarette? Because I'm stressed out. Like
I will get you a cigarette. Listen, Daniel, I'll get you a cigarette. I'll get you to go to the bathroom. Okay?
Thank you.
But hold on.
Let's pee.
All right.
Let's pee. We're gonna get a cigarette. We're gonna come back. We're gonna finish talking
Thank
about
you
this.
very much.
Okay? We're gonna finish talking.
Clay asks for a break and requests to use the washroom.
A tell is probably most commonly known in a poker game when you're staring at your opponent. If they tap their fingers, shuffle their cards in a certain way, make facial expressions or body movements, that's called a tell. The same thing transfers over to law enforcement, where an experienced detective can analyze someone's pre-stress movements, post-stress movements, especially on multiple interviews, and you learn eventually what this tell gives you. If they're stressed, if they suddenly do something different, you know they're either possibly lying versus telling the truth.
When Clay returns from the washroom, he decides to come clean and tell detectives the truth.
Daniel, listen to me. All right? It happened. All right? You manned up and you told us what happened. Okay?
Yeah, after I got caught.
But listen.
It don't matter.
Listen. All right? When you listen to me, all right? It's yours. Just relax.
Clay has got a story. He says that he picked her up, they were in the car making out, and things went bad from there. She gets out of the car and he takes off. That's his story. The police are now trying to pin him down a little closer to see if he will break on some of the details and find out what really happened, because he is the main suspect at this time.
With no ride or phone to call home, Chelsea decides to tackle the journey on foot. Clay states that while leaving the party, he runs into her again on the side of the road.
When I first had sex with the girl, like literally, it was she walked by and said, "Oh, you're cute."
Yeah, that's
and
her.
I said, "Oh, you look nice too. You got a nice ass." So and I said something, and she's like, "Oh, let's go."
Okay.
Like you could tell she was pissed off at someone.
Yeah.
Okay. So did you two have sex at the party, the first sex?
Yeah.
And then you left?
Yeah, we weren't, but just not far down the road, because there were still cars, you could still see.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you.
We had sex.
I'm gonna ask
the
you.
second time when it happened.
The second time you had sex, was it on War Road?
No, was it War Road that the party's on? Whatever
Post.
whatever road that's connected, like this, here's Post, here's his house.
Clay then reports that it was Chelsea's idea to continue where they left off at the party. He pulls over to the side of the road and says that Chelsea went off first to pee, but tripped on the edge of the ditch, possibly losing her shoe in the process.
So that could have been right there where her shoe was found?
Could have been, yeah.
Okay.
Because she got out of the car, she peed before we had sex the second time. So
and I'm trying to
that
clear
could have
all.
been where her shoe is. I don't know.
I'm trying to clear all questions.
Okay.
So she got out of the car and peed there.
Yeah.
Quite common when you have someone in a situation where there's DNA. If they have time to think about their answer, they will come up with blaming the victim. In this particular case, he claims that she wanted rough sex. She wanted to be choked, and it went bad. He said she stopped breathing after he choked her, basically saying it was her fault that she's dead.
A few moments pass before Clay realizes that Chelsea has stopped breathing. He describes the moment as scary, and he freaked out.
In a desperate attempt to explain Chelsea's death, Clay claims that he attempted CPR but just didn't know how to do it. Clay panics, knowing he must have choked Chelsea too hard.
In a blur, Clay decides to drive to the construction site, a place where he used to smoke marijuana.
So what happened then?
I freaked out. I drove around for like 5 minutes with her in the back seat, and then I ended up over by Talisa's.
Up by Briar Hill?
Yeah, and I just kind of like took her and walked her back there. But the clothes I left, I honestly thought I left them in the car until like the next day, and then I didn't know where they went.
Okay.
I have no idea, because I don't know where you're talking about they were found. Like,
Okay.
I'm not familiar with
So
that.
you never took the clothes to
No.
Peters?
Clay pulls up to the site in the dead of the night. He opens the rear door of the vehicle and reaches in to grab the body.
To get to the place where Chelsea's body was found, you have to cross a set of train tracks. So this means that he would have had to drag her body across them.
Clay drags Chelsea to the construction site before placing her down amongst some logs.
In his story, he chokes her after she asked, and she dies accidentally, according to what he says. So he then takes the body and goes to an area where he's familiar with, doesn't have a tool to bury her, so he covers her with leaves and finds a large log to put over the body. If you accidentally kill someone, you would call the police and say, this is what happened. When you go to that length to disguise what you've done, it's automatically considered to be a crime.
Lastly, Clay moves a large log over her, his last attempt to conceal the body of Chelsea Bruck.
After returning to his vehicle, he reaches in, grabs Chelsea's clothes, and throws them out the window. Then, without seemingly a second thought, he just drives away.
But detectives notice that only some parts of Clay's confession add up.
Even the fact that she had bumped her nose earlier in the night can't explain that amount of blunt force trauma to her face.
I switched them back and forth.
Hey, so you were worried before. We were talking about you said, I'm going to go to prison for the rest of my life, no matter what. That's okay. There's a difference between intent
I know.
Things like that, and that's what we need to know right now, okay?
It wasn't
Did you intentionally?
No, I did not intentionally hurt her.
Okay, then we need to know what happened, okay? There's a big difference.
And
Okay.
I guess I choked her too hard or something.
Okay.
I wasn't even choking her that hard, I didn't think.
This did not go the way he said. She had other damage to her face. He had obviously not just choked her. There was other violence involved.
With nothing more to say, Daniel Clay is handcuffed and officially arrested for the murder of Chelsea Bruck. With testimony from previous girlfriends, other charges of sexual assault, and his attempts to cover up the crime, the accidental death excuse is just not credible. Daniel Clay is found guilty of concealing a death and felony murder on May 16, 2017.
Chelsea's friends and family describe her as so full of love. She was really excited to follow her passion and become a chef.
Daniel Clay's confession to the murder of Chelsea Bruck is crude and heartless.
Looking at a sea of people dressed as monsters, they are able to use great investigative techniques, break down the suspect, get witnesses, and they find the real monster that killed this young woman. It was a fantastic piece of police work.
But yet, through the pain and heartbreak, Chelsea's family and friends thank supporters and those who assisted in the search. They finally have answers as to where and what happened to Chelsea. Now, they search for justice.
You know, it's a huge relief that he's not going to be doing this to any other girls. It's a huge relief that we knew who was responsible for it.
With Clay now in prison, justice has been served. But a vibrant young woman's life has been taken, and tragically, nothing will ever change that.